Welcome back to the Ancient Dungeon VR guides, and welcome to the first level of the dungeon. Do not let the simplicity fool you. There are a great deal of surprises here. As with all the guides, there will be a brief description of notable things to watch out for that are unique to each dungeon, enemy, and boss analysis. Without further ado, let's get started. In the first dungeon, you should keep your eye out for the arrow traps that are along the sides of the wall. You can block them with your sword or your dagger if you're using the crossbow, and also pay attention to the floor spikes. Either they are optional or they can be timed to avoid. Climbing, as in the ladders or the climbing rings, requires some time to get used to, but once you learn the ladders and the rings, you will use them as speed boosts. As it being the first dungeon, it has the highest variety of enemies in the game at 15, but most of them are defeated easily. So let's get started with slimes. Slimes are the most common enemy in this floor and have a few varieties. Base slimes and helmet slimes both have around 10 hit points, but the helmet covers most of the slime and protects it from a throwing dagger. Melee attacks can shatter the helmet, as with most armor in this game. Some slimes have a pixelated glow around them and shoot projectiles. These slimes, called bullet slimes, can have their projectiles deflected and have less health than their standard counterparts. You may encounter blue or red face slimes that are similar to the ranged slimes but have additional HP and different projectile patterns. Slimes are easily defeated by using the knife at a distance and then using the melee weapon up close. You can smack the slimes away from you if you're getting overwhelmed to generate some space. Bats are flying enemies with an HP maximum of 1 unless you change the difficulty modifier. Any amount of damage will kill a standard bat, but they do tend to spawn in numbers. You may encounter a larger bat with a pixel aura that has a larger HP pool spawn compared to other bats, so pay attention. Bats are felled easily by either weapon, but when they are up close, simply bat them away with your melee attack. Wights, also commonly referred to as zombies, can be crawling or walking, and in some stages, they may be armored. If the wight detects you and cannot reach you, it may throw deflectable stones at the player. It is also worth noting that certain wights can also lunge at the player, but this move is highly telegraphed with a visual and audio cue, with the zombie raising its hands before the lunge and screeching during the lunge. Typically, using the sword will deflect this lunge and is what the player should do in most cases. The throwing knife from a distance is always a safe option. Wrapping up our standard enemy category are the plants, including the bloomers and the vines. These enemies are completely stationary with audibly ranged attacks. Hopefully, these enemies don't really sneak up on you. The red plants fire a fast, dumbfire projectile that simply goes in a straight line. The purple plants shoot a slower but tracking projectile. The green plants function like mortars. They shoot an angled shot in the air that crashes at your feet and explodes. All of these projectiles can be deflected to the target and instantly kill the plant unless you're on a difficulty modifier. The threat of this group is the purple plant. They can shoot 4 at once in different cardinal directions. But if you're close enough, 2 to 3 of these projectiles will track you and can be somewhat hard to deflect. The other threat in the plant class is the possessed vine. The vine is very tall and shoots out a spray of liquid toxin that damages the player. While it has a short range, its projectiles can't be deflected or blocked, and its high HP and thin profile makes it difficult to slay. Sponge spitters fall in this category but are immobile and weak. Unless you play blindfolded and on mute, they shouldn't be much of a problem, especially with how rare they seem to be. The Overgrown Gatehouse has 2 possible bosses in the current patch. These are King Slime and the Deranged Adventurer. Let's start with King Slime. King Slime has a very low health pool for a boss, and poses almost no threat by itself. However, each time it's hit, King Slime will spawn a regular slime to fight with it. There are 2 good approaches to this. You can use the knife to ignore its help and turbo out the boss, and then deal with the stragglers with sweeping melee attacks, which is a bit harder to do but is faster. Or, you can land a few good strikes on the king, deal with 1 or 2 of the helpers, and then rinse and repeat until King Slime perishes, which is a slower but safer method. All in all, this is the easiest boss in the game in my personal opinion. Now the other boss, the Deranged Adventurer, is a pretty typical melee focused enemy. You can make quick and safe work of this boss by keeping a decent distance and making liberal use of your projectile weapon. The attack that makes this boss higher rated than the slime is the jumping attack that shoots spikes from the ground and a fan toward the player. Keep strafing to the side and this shouldn't be an issue. And with that being said, you are well on your way to the next dungeon. I'm hoping to keep the dungeon guides short and sweet, that way they're easy to consume quickly, if you're in need of a quick pick-me-up or a quick tip. So I hope this video was helpful or informative, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And with that, I hope you have a great day.